Welcome to The Div and our series on professional expectations. I'm Lieutenant Navy Alex Wood from 4th Canadian Division Public Affairs in Toronto, Ontario. As members of the profession of arms, we are held to high standards and are expected to uphold the values of the Canadian Armed Forces. Our 8 professional expectations are provided through the Canadian Armed Forces ethos, trusted to serve. Our topic today is discipline, and joining me are Warrant Officer James Torgal and Sergeant Parameswaran. Warrant Officer James Torgal joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 1999 as a reserve cook with 32 Service Battalion. He deployed to Bosnia on Operation Monarch with 3 Canadian Support Group in 2002, where he returned to work full-time with Area Support Unit Toronto. In 2004, Warrant Officer Torgal completed a voluntary occupational transfer to Material Management Technician. He deployed on Operation Archer in 2008 as Company Quartermaster with the Military Police in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Upon return, he transferred to 32 Combat Engineer Regiment as the Regimental Quartermaster and is currently with 4 Canadian Support Base Detachment Toronto as Supply Company Second in Charge. Sergeant Parameswaran joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 2011 as a reserve armor crewman with the Governor General's Horse Guards. He deployed to Egypt on Operation Calumet, where he worked as a raid camera operator and liaison NCO. Sergeant Parameswaran worked with many units in the Canadian Armed Forces and has been employed with the Canadian Army Intelligence Regiment for 5 years, following employment with the Royal Canadian Air Force. He currently works with 4th Canadian Division as the International Operations NCO. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hey,
glad to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
So, as always, we introduce our guests to the audience here and getting to know you guys a little bit as individuals. So, Warren, I'll start with you. You've been in the forces now for a couple of years.
Yep.
And what was it back in 1999 that compelled you to get into the military?
Funny enough, it was actually retired General Lewis Mackenzie when I was in high school, who actually was an alumni at Harvard Collegiate, and he had just finished his roto in Bosnia after it kind of gotten worldwide notoriety as far as the events going on with the genocide there. And he knew a colleague, and he was asked to speak there. And listening to the retired general's stories, it was interesting. Basically, this the idea of a service person going out there, putting themselves in harm's way for nothing other than the betterment of humanity, protecting life, ensuring quality of life and freedoms are enjoyed by everyone. So that's kind of what started the gears rolling there. And it was after high school that I ended up enrolling after that. But I'd say that the general was kind of like my first experience with the CF.
Right on. So, Cardi, how about yourself? What made you decide to get into this career?
For me, when I got the exposure coming in from high school co-op, CAF does a co-op program for those 16 and above, and you can join. It's a full-time course, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to see a working perspective of what the CAF is like. And obviously, being 16, everything was very new to me, especially being a first-gen Canadian. I've always had a family that always said, how are you going to contribute back? What are you going to do in the future? So I think that and the high school co-op opportunity kind of just pushed me right into it and obtained that new experience every day. And from then on, it just became a lifestyle for me.
So as the International Operations NCO at Fortive now, what's a typical day look like for you?
It's a lot of moving people around, essentially. CAF is involved in a lot of deployments, especially in situations that we have ongoing right now. And part of my responsibility is across Ontario, all the perks that we have in the division, sending them out opportunities to deploy where we have missions ongoing.
And James, I think a lot of folks think of the military, especially the Army, as as we say, the pointy end of the spear, the combat arms trades. But you've been in a service battalion really from the inception,
yep.
And a service support type of positions. What is it that sort of drew you to that particular aspect of the military, and how, maybe for folks that aren't as familiar, what is the importance and what are some of the things that the service battalion trades really contribute to the overall effort?
So I think for me, it was the combination of not only being a soldier, but a logistician as well. So whereas the combat arms, like you said, is the pointy end of the stick, the combat service support is kind of like the hilt of the sword with a little bit of pointy bits to kind of keep yourself safe. And I don't think what most people realize is that in operations such as Afghanistan, if you're running a forward logistics patrol, you're literally, driving in a column with maybe a couple of armored vehicles for protection, but you're really facing unknown dangers on your own with a very small contingent to protect you. So in experiences overseas, that's usually what happened, right? Like you'd be all by yourself and you're a target of opportunity, and normally that's where the trouble comes, as much as it comes to the rest of the combat arms guys.
We're here today as part of this series on professional expectations, and both of you clearly, have a few years under your belt in your various roles, and you've got deployment experience and all of that. We want to talk about discipline, and I know that oftentimes probably folks, especially outside of the military, think of, military discipline as being more of a punitive kind of a thing, or, things that folks kind of see in the movies. But discipline really encompasses a variety of different contexts. So, James, for you, just generally speaking, what is the importance of discipline for you as a soldier, but also as an individual? So,
well, I could kind of speak on this in two ways. I'll kind of do from the individual part. So we all display discipline at one point of our lives or another, whether we're conscious of it or if we're not conscious of it, right? So if you work on the civilian sector and you have a job, you have to show discipline with money, right? Financial responsibility. You have to show discipline with time, showing up on time to work, or else you're not going to have a job. So this idea that discipline is solely an exclusive military attribute, it's really kind of a bit of a misnomer, when the reality is all of us display discipline to one degree or another in our daily lives. I just think it's current references as far as Hollywood is concerned projects a very kind of like draconian style of discipline, which, it sells a lot of movies, right, at the end of the day.
Sure.
So I think that's like the key difference is like, one, we all display discipline, but, it's really not that different from the discipline we show in the military or see in the military.
Cardi, as a senior NCO, non-commissioned officer, you have responsibility for subordinates, people that report to you and that sort of thing. What kinds in what ways do you help them to develop discipline? What are some of the things that you try to impart to the people that work with you?
Yeah, for me, I try to especially with new recruits or new people joining, I try to let them have their own comfort in understanding. So yes, the military has a structure that we provide these individuals, but when it comes to discipline, and as Lauren mentioned, it's a practice that you get, and it's never just clicked into you right away just by signing on the line. It's over time. So when I deal with new recruits and train, I like to see what they bring to the table, bring in the military aspect of it, and kind of mold with them. You very much have to be personable with individuals. And that's my strategy towards building that discipline in individuals.
Both of you have deployment overseas experience. So certainly when we think about that, it sort of heightens the game, if you will, in terms of liabilities and risks and all the different things that come into play with those kinds of operations. How does discipline, James, how does it ensure unity between a team and with that an advantage over the adversary?
Well, I'm sure like you can kind of pick out tons of moments in history, recorded or otherwise, which kind of show great displays of discipline. I don't want to go into any one specific. I just kind of want to go into the meat and potatoes of it. And the reality of discipline in the military and why it's so important is that you are basically taking upon yourself to be responsible for things which are required of you in order to do two things: ensure that you do not become a casualty, and ensure that you do not burden your teammates by becoming a casualty. So, when you think about things like health, hygiene, and safety, right? So nobody's going to tell you to brush your teeth or wash your clothes or take a bath. But the minute you stop doing those things and you now contract a communicable disease and you are now a casualty, and now other people need to take care of you. So medics have to look after you. They have to give you medication. And if you're in a battle space, those medics may have critically injured people from an actual a contact or something like that, or a battle, which will take priority. But guess what? Now you are taking resources away from these critically injured people because you did not have the discipline to take care of yourself. So it's also acknowledging that, your responsibilities have a direct impact on the rest of the team as well.
What do you find, Cardi, most difficult about not just maintaining discipline for yourself, but perhaps disciplining others? Do you find that challenging? How do you manage that?
100%. I find myself, I'm always evolving as well. And for that aspect of it, so like I mentioned earlier, discipline in the sense of practice. That practice can come to you at different points in your career or your life. So as I learn, sometimes when I have to come to a moment where I have to provide disciplinary actions to my subordinates, I very much have to think about it. What is the primary effect, the secondary effect, and am I getting the message across? Is it, as you mentioned earlier, it's not just about telling someone to do something and that's the end all of it. You very much, again, have to get with the person and explain to them why. So it's always a two-way factor where I'm learning myself, and then part of it, relaying that message to the troop is giving them the opportunity to understand what they did wrong or what they need to do and how they can learn from what they are doing.
So as we sort of, come to a close and wind this up, just want to talk a little bit about the future for each of you. So James, currently you're second in charge there with the supply side. What's the next step for you? Where do you look to go in your career from here?
Well, I actually never meant to become a warrant officer. It was actually a very good mentor who kind of put on to me that, and this is kind of a discipline thing as well. He said that, you may not want to become a warrant officer, but at this point, it's not about what you want. It's about your responsibilities to those below you. And then he kind of played to my good nature, for lack of a better word. And I kind of said, well, you know what? Yeah, that's part of discipline too, right? It's accepting responsibility for the fact that now I'm in a position where I have to look after other people. So I did just recently complete my ALP, so I just kind of learning and marking time until the next promotion rank, and who knows, maybe a commission, some additional university education, and then see where I could push it as far as leadership and learning is concerned. Is
there any particular, maybe another trade transfer in the future that you've thought about, or is there some other area that which you'd like to explore?
I'm actually quite good at what I do, and I do enjoy it. If I do pursue another trade, it'd be when I'm retired, doing kind of my scale models and hobbies.
Right on. Cardi, you're, again, International Operations NCO, a lot of responsibility there, as you mentioned. What's next for you? If you had the opportunity to pick your next, posting or job, what would it be?
I'd never try to have a set mindset of what I want to do next, because the CAF, there's so many different opportunities, and whether it's different types of jobs or different type of people you want to work with, the CAF has it all. So kind of like he said, I never really had a forecast of what I want to do next. I kind of just given myself that mindset of whatever opportunity comes up, I will take it. I will take where it is, wherever it is. I enjoy it. So I go right into it. I don't really try to set a mindset of what I'm going to do next. I go through my mentors. I go through different people I work with. They give me an opportunity, I take it. It's how I've been for the last 12 years, and we'll see where it takes me.
Just always willing to serve.
100%.
Right on.
It's always new for me, and it's fun. So.
Outstanding. Well, again, thank you both, for taking the time, because I know that we're all very busy in our respective roles, and getting time away from the day-to-day things, does really take some effort and some sacrifice. So appreciate that very much, and I'm sure as our viewers are appreciative of what you've shared with us today as well. So that's going to do it for this episode of Professional Expectations with the Div. I'm Lieutenant Navy Alex Wood. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to follow us on social media. We'll see you next time.